Shalom, family. I am so sorry for keeping y'all waiting like this. My mic fizzed out on me again. And so I had to play around with it and it finally popped on. So I think that's a sign I need to break down and just buy another mic. I mean, I love this mic. Like I told y'all before, I got this microphone through your donations. And it's still problems here. So I really need to have a backup mic anyway, you know? So I guess this was definitely a lesson learned. I'm going to get another mic. I just need to do it. I just need to do it at this point. Israel Talks Last. Thank you so much for becoming a channel member. Again, I'm so sorry, y'all. I kept you waiting like this. So we got quite a bit to talk about, and there's something else, and I might do it on another live stream later on. Um, our governor, he went on live stream to talk to us here in New Jersey. And he got on to that unjappsinated people and how it's being spread. And we know those are all lies, right? So I listened to what he said and I decided to go out and look at the things that were going on in my state. And I found things that were complete opposite of what he said. Now, I'm going to do it. Yes, Murphy. And I'm going to show y'all articles that came out very recently. And I'm not going to speak it, but I'm going to show it to you. And I'm going to do it in another live stream. So when we get done with this one, stay tuned because I'm coming with a second one. All right. So let me just talk briefly about what I'm about to show you. Now, some of you might have heard about the submarine, the Russian nuclear submarine that was found off the coast of the US. Well, they've also sent similar submarines to the UK. Now, when you go back and look at history, when the US rose into power, actually the UK was right there too, rising up around the same time. So, is it a coincidence that you see these subs popping up in the UK and the US? No, no. So, we got quite a bit to talk about. And, I know you had to wait, but I'm going to try to make this worth your while. Ladies and gentlemen. So, I hope you are having a better day. I certainly hope so, you know. Um, And I also want to take the time and thank those of you that have given donations. Unfortunately, I like Cash App, but they don't give you any way other than sending a heart or a fist or something indicating that I got your donations. I wish, you could type a little something in there just so I can thank you. But they don't have it set up that way. And those of you that gave PayPal donations, and quite frankly, I prefer the donations through PayPal or Cash App because then YouTube don't get a portion of it. Anything that you give me in Super Chat, they take a portion of it. And what have they done? Nothing, you know? So we're going to talk about a few things. Boy, I wish I could have y'all here for a while because it is just so much stuff going on in the US, it's not even funny. I mean, you can hardly keep up with the news. It's just coming out so fast. And and then I have to sit and make the decision what's worth listening to and what's not. So, and you may not like all of my stories. I guess that's pretty normal. It's always something for everybody, and then there's always some things people are like, I didn't really need to know that story, and I get it. I just don't want the channel to be so serious that that's all I'm focused on. That's why every now and then I'll throw in something that's really not important, but it's more of entertainment use, more so a serious nature. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, ladies and gentlemen, and then we will get started. Shalom to everybody in the chat. Shalom. All right. All right. So let me share. Okay. Okay. So, everybody, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Please give me a one if you can see the screen. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I deeply appreciate that. All right. Let's talk first about war games. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States do war games with China. And they've been doing this for quite some time. It didn't just start, it's been going on for a few decades. Now, China will study the US, and that's what they've done. They study the US militarily. So they already know the kind of things they're going to do before they actually happens when your adversary can spend a lot of time studying you. Now they can outperform you and outfox you, and there's nothing the US can do but just sit there and lose every year. And that drives me to the next point. We're past the 500 years, ladies and gentlemen. There are no more victories coming for America. You know, there's no more victories militarily. It's downhill. You've seen how far this country has declined in under 2 years, and they have no clue to how to fix this. This is why they'll say things like, "Oh, it'll go away." See, when somebody tells you something like that, ladies and gentlemen, what they're really saying is, "We have no plan and we don't know what to do." That's what they're really saying to you. But they're just using that BS line. Oh, it'll go away. No, it won't. No, it won't. I bet you this thing will be on the planet long after you're gone. So let's talk about the US military and how they keep losing these war games. And see, mainstream news will just get out there and say, oh, you know, uh, they haven't won in 10 years. Actually, it's beyond 10 years. They haven't won. And just understand the news media in America is just around to pacify one group of people. So, anything they're not victorious in, they're going to always exclude from the media. It's just a common practice they do. Being frank and honest with the public, that's not them. That's not who they are at all. So the US military put its new war fighting concept for the future warfare to test, and it didn't go well at all. Now, when do they have these war games? They have them around October of every year. That's when they do these simulated wars. And they go up against China, and they have failed miserably up against the Chinese. Now, why are they losing? Because China, which is always the red team in these virtual wars, they have been studying the US for the last 30 years. And one thing about these folks that are in charge, they're very repetitive. They just keep repeating the same thing over and over instead of saying, okay, this strategy is not working. We've been using this strategy for decades. Maybe it's time to make some changes. They don't think like that. They're not wired like that. This is why they're still using the same racial slurs that they were using 500 years ago. They're still using that mess today. The originality is just it's not there. And this proves it, because if you were original, you would be coming back hard with new strategies. They're not. And now your enemy knows what you have. They know the kind of moves you make. They know where your military is going to be. They know where the big bulk of the people in your military are going to be. So it's like a cakewalk for them. They're literally stepping all over the US, y'all. They're stepping all over the US. Okay. Now, this is one of a person up at the Pentagon. They said they knew exactly what we were going to do before we did it. That's because y'all are very repetitive. You're even repetitive on jobs. So it's not hard to pick up on what you're doing at all. And they took advantage of it. Imagine our actual competitors doing this for 30 years or even longer, with probably even more focus, with large numbers. So we had to take a step back and broadly say, okay, what did we miss? Well, what you missed was, and I'm sure China is not the only military that have studied the US, the Russians have too. They have too. And the fact that this submarine, this nuclear submarine, popped up on, along the US coast, they knew nobody would be there in that spot that they arrived in. And number two, ladies and gentlemen, many of you might have heard of Satan and Satan 2. Those are two nuclear rockets that the Soviet Union at the time built. Now, they're known as Russia now. So, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why the Russians are better in rocket technology is because Russia has been around longer than the US. Russia is 1,000 years old. That's why when you see their rockets and everything, they're way more advanced than the ones that the US put out. And being that they're 1,000 years old and the US is not, the US is a baby compared to Russia. They're a baby. So that's why you see they are way more advanced and will always be more advanced than the US. Okay, so the US forces attempted to establish information dominance, just like it did in the first Gulf War, just like it has been doing for the last 20 years. Like everybody in the world, including China and Russia, have watched us do for 30 years. But right now, from the start, that information is not available. The US military relies heavily on data, sensors, and systems to see what's happening on the battlefield and fire upon targets, as well as radio and digital communication to instantly relay command decisions. So these communication systems that they got, ladies and gentlemen, are susceptible to jamming on the battlefield. Can you imagine that? You're on a battlefield and they can't give you commands on the battlefield because their system keeps jamming. I don't know, y'all. Does that sound like an advanced nation to you? I don't think so. All right. So, there are always disruptions also. If there's a problem with the satellites. So they're relying on a lot of things that are just not working out for the US when they go into these war games. So reportedly characterize the situation, it's a big problem. These countries got hypersonic missiles, y'all. The US don't even have that. And the rocket I was telling you about, Satan, that thing can't be picked up on a radar. It carries now Satan 2 carries 15 nuclear warheads. When that thing makes impact, just before it makes impact, it scatters all of those nuclear warheads so they can get a wide area. So Satan, their rocket, and you can look this up. You'll see they got a bunch of them. They said it can take out the country the size of France or a state like Texas. It can wipe it off the face of the earth. That one rocket. It travels at 16,000 miles per hour and it goes completely undetected. So, in today's world with hypersonic missiles with significant long range fires coming at us from all domains, if you're, aggravated, they know they are aggravated because they know how vulnerable the US is. If your enemies can kick your ass virtually for the last 2 decades, I mean, really, what good are you going to be in a real physical war? You're really just suiciding yourself out there. Okay, so the exercise demonstrated flaws in the war fighting concept and that the US military likely cannot take for granted some of the advantages and it has had in the past as it thinks about how best to address higher end threats from rival powers like China and Russia. In the wake of the exercise, the Joint Chiefs of Staff have been looking at how to address the vulnerabilities as its war fighting strategy is just failing over and over. Okay. And you know what, y'all? At the end of the day, this is really incapable people running this from the top. I mean, there's no way around it. It's been 500 years. And let me know, black men and women, which era was good. Seriously, where it was good and people were happy, not just one group of people. And if you want to lead and all you do is care about yourself, don't try to lead. Just go off on your own and do what makes you happy. But if you can get beyond understanding that there's all these other group of people here and you're in charge, but you're selfish and self centered, your leadership is always going to be a failure from the jump. It has been horrible for the last 500 years. See, that's why they don't want CRT taught in school because you'll also see how poorly these folks have done all these centuries. But they you know what it is, they know how to talk a good game, but when it comes to putting those words into action, they fail. Oh, how many times have we heard we are all the same? No, we're not. We have never been treated the same up in this society. So that's all that is psychological warfare. But see, they can't psychological warfare around this pandemic. They can't psychological warfare around their adversaries when they go up against them in these virtual war games. See, all your bag of tricks, it don't work on everything. And we are seeing a clear picture of very incompetent people that are just failing all the way around out here. And there's a reason why, when people are not working in your country and they keep dropping out by the millions, they don't want to support this. It's just another way of saying many people are not going to support this American society anymore. They're backing away from it. You see, that spirit can only come from one source, and that's our Heavenly Father. He put a spirit on there where they no longer care about this country. They don't care about keeping the economy up. They don't care about even taking the jobs out here. When have we ever seen this in history? You haven't, but you sure see it now, and it's not going to change. Okay, so the Pentagon says necessary to deter future Chinese and Russian aggressions, looks at things like contested logistics, joint firings, joint all domain command and control, and establishing an information advantage. They don't even have none of these things. The purpose of the new warfighting concept is to reshape logistics, develop the capability to fire on adversaries from everywhere in such a way that an adversary cannot defend itself. But obviously, they can. They're beating the US. They seem to be defending themselves quite well. And connect command and control links to give commanders a much clearer picture of the battlefield. So, and they're also saying that according to Stars and Stripes, stressed the importance of making these changes, saying that the stakes were high and that the US military's warfighting edge over rival powers like China is shrinking fast. So, ladies and gentlemen, they do a lot of boasting about their might, but as you can see, talk is cheap. These folks are literally whipping China, the US ass, year in and year out in these virtual war games. You know you're bad when your enemy can figure you out to the point where you can no longer defeat them. I don't believe you ever could anyway. That's just my opinion. But now let's talk about the Russian submarines with 160 nukes on board surface off the coast of the US. This, ladies and gentlemen, is huge. This thing got close to the US border undetected. It was not until people physically saw it with their two eyes that's when they realized they were there. They don't even know how technically, if you didn't pick them up on radar, you don't know how long they've been sitting out there. And like I said, the same thing happened to the UK, but I think in their case, it was more than one submarine. And that was pretty recently, too. So, Russian nuclear submarine of the Bory project, which carries 16 Balava ballistic missiles on board, unexpectedly appeared off the coast of the US, having caused serious concerns in Washington. So they're saying it was possible to establish the whereabouts of the nuclear submarine with up to 160 nuclear warheads on board after the sub started going back to the base. A submarine of this class is capable of destroying most of the US territories in minutes. That's that rocket technology that they're advanced in. Russian nuclear submarines will be able to constantly patrol the waters near the US coast in the event that Russia decides to build a naval base in Cuba or Venezuela. Yeah, because that puts them closer to the United States, for an easy strike. And ladies and gentlemen, this thing is very serious. It's very serious because look at the size of this submarine and they couldn't pick it up on radar. I mean, that says a lot, right? So, do you feel safe? How can you feel safe knowing something like this? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. And America is not going to be able to defend themselves because we are at the end and they are no longer in the blessings, ladies and gentlemen. So, without the blessings that they once had, once upon a time, you just they didn't prepare themselves, y'all. For the last 500 years, they just completely focused the majority of their attention on us, the Black community, what we're doing, what they can do to destroy us, what things they can do behind our backs that we don't know about, and over policing us and laughing about our brothers and sisters that get killed, and they think it's okay to be vigilantes against us. They think it's okay to send Karen and Darren out here on the streets, deputizing themselves to watch over what we're doing. So, it seems to me you focus so much on us, you're not even prepared for your adversaries in battle. You're not prepared. They literally can wipe out America and go undetected while they're doing it. So, what was all the gains of them going overboard watching over us? And meantime, your enemies now have hypersonic missiles. They got all kinds of weaponry that they built up, and you're still sitting here with your old shit. They don't have the blessing. Now, will they see more victories? Yeah, see, they're going to get what I call trinket size victory, like Kyle Rittenhouse. The things that really, at the end of the day, does it really matter? He killed his own people anyway. Yeah, you'll get those kind of victories because quite frankly, your system will remain all rigged up to your last breathing day. You're not going to do anything about it. So, you've been watching us all this time. How did it pay off? Thank you, Gartel McKinney, for the super chat. Shalom, beloved. Lisa, it's good to come over and say hi to the family. Well, it's good to have you here, Gartel. Thank you very much for the super chat. Okay. So I'm going to say this again. These folks are not leaders. And I think we now officially know this from the way they have carried out this pandemic. They're not leaders, y'all. See, if it's not weaponry and fighting and going to get or going up against unarmed people and you're packed down with weapons, that's their thing. But leading into the future, that's not going to be a necessity. You're going to have to use your brain to survive. All these guns, if guns were so effective, go out there and use it on CV. Go out there and use it on my crayon. Let's see what your gun can do then. You can't arrest it. You can't beat it out in the streets. You can't tase it. So you literally are the people of weaponry. That's really all you are. You're nothing else beyond that. You'll try to put on airs and act like you're beyond that, but you're not. And these 2 years, you can't hide like you're trying to hide your CRT history. So you can't hide this. This is something the entire world has seen, and it's happening on your watch. And we have seen not one improvement yet. Okay. These folks, ladies and gentlemen, are no more prepared than the Egyptians were in the Bible when our Heavenly Father came after them. They're still doing videos on the rapture. There is no rapture. Historically, name one group of people when their society fell and they got raptured out. Name one. Name one. Okay? You can't. Just like they got this thing about saying they'll be in power forever. No, you won't. And to be honest with you, I don't think you are now. But you're going to keep getting up and going through the motions as the system continues to fail. It's not going to get better, y'all. They don't have the blessings. So nothing they do will work for them. You know, nothing. And yes, it's scaring them. And they'll just continue to get up and do the same repetitive stuff over and over. That's why your enemies were able to pick up on the things you do, and now they can run rings around you. Onika, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Right. That's what I'm saying, Michelle Harvey. Very good. Yeah. See, when the plagues hit the Egyptians, they didn't know how to get around it, they didn't know how to fix it. Do you really believe our Heavenly Father is going to put disease and pestilence on the planet and allow the people that He's taken down to come up with a cure? Do you really think that's going to happen? They can be in them labs for the rest of their lives and they're not going to come up with anything that works. Just like they haven't come up with anything that works for the flu or a common cold. I mean, and let's face it, even their over the counter medication has a bunch of side effects. Just pick up those labels and start reading what it can do to your body if you're taking that mess long term. You can't. You can't. Thank you, Anne, for the super sticker. Thank you. So when they come up and act like, oh, this thing, we'll defeat it. No, they won't. No, they won't. No, they won't. So we got to do for self and do the best that we can to keep ourselves afloat. Lynn McKinney, thank you so much for the super sticker. Yeah, and remember, y'all, there's still an ammunition shortage. You know, everything is in shortage in America. Everything is. So, you know, as you can see, leadership has been bad. I always knew it was bad, but now it can't be hidden. It can't, you know? And technically, CRT can't even be blocked because it's too much information out here. You can go to any library and study the history. You can even go online. You can go to the Library of Congress. They got all kinds of records on slavery. They got bills of sales, auctions. They got all of the information on the lynchings and everything. I mean, they got all of that information. It is just, I mean, come on. You going to wait 500 years later and whine about the history? Living Cali One, thank you so much for the super chat. I love your reporting of the news. May the Most High continue to bless you always. May He bless you. May all of your days ahead be blessed. Uh, Sherry Ya, thank you so much for the super sticker. I do appreciate it. Thank you. So, you know, as it looks out here, nobody is even caring about saving the society. And I really think there is nothing they can do to roll back everything. And you see how they were threatening people on these jobs. And, you know, one of the things I have consistently seen in the comments when I go to look at these videos on the labor shortage, These folks are talking about how relieved they are not to be at their former employment just taking crap every day. And believe it or not, I'm getting also from a lot of people how they are still taking on this attitude. Well, if you don't like it, you can leave, you can be replaced. Well, not so easy anymore. You really don't have a lot of people out here that will replace your staff. So just because you see this country doing so poorly when it comes down to leadership, it doesn't mean you on a personal level can do for yourself and come up with your own strategy on how you're going to move ahead. We I don't believe nothing can help America at this time. It's amazing how when our heavenly Father said 400 years, they did not get a second past that. If you notice, they did not get 1 second past the 400 years. He really meant that. And they see all this stuff going on and they see how badly they're doing. They're just trying to stay quiet about it. But the mainstream news will get up every single day talking to you, talking down to you, acting like it's the fault of the people out here that didn't get it and all that. No, see, the only reason why y'all are on the soapbox pointing fingers because you don't have a solution. You don't have a plan. You don't have a way out of this thing. So, that being said, that's why you want to point the finger and try to blame. First, you tried to put the whole thing on the Black community back in 2020. And when that kinda didn't work the way you thought it would, now you're on this unjabseen people, and that's not gonna work either. That's not gonna work. You got a monster you simply can't control. But you expect us to still look upon you for leadership? Nah, I'm not following their lead. I'm pretty much doing things my way and I'm going to continue to do it. I don't need their direction. Their direction is not showing us anything. And this is a serious thing happening. This is definitely no laughing matter. They can't even keep their schools open. Look at how that's fallen apart on them. And I love how these kids are now protesting because they don't want to be there either. How is in-person school good when you don't have the teachers there? And I was looking at um some of the articles. You know what they're doing in some of the classrooms, y'all? Showing movies. The same stuff you would see on Netflix, showing movies. Or they'll have a non-teacher, maybe like a staff member, and they'll just give them little exercise paperwork and they run in between 2 to 3 different classes. How is that getting a good education? How is that getting how are these kids learning? You keep saying they learn better in person, but how are they learning better in person with teacher shortages, substitute teacher shortages, staffing shortages? How is that better? No, what it is, you wanna get rid of your children so that you can either lay around at your house all day or go to work. But at the end of the day, with these daycare and, schools closing, the last few people that were out here working, they're gonna walk away because they gotta attend to their children. It's not gonna always be somebody for them to fall on. There's a lot of men and women with children, and they're doing it all on their own. In fact, a shout out to our single mothers and single fathers out there that's doing the best they can through this whole thing. Oh, yeah, the children are very sick. I mean, that's why you can go out and find the stories on hospitalizations, and it's a lot of kids going in there. It's a lot of them. So It's going to be a rough year. You already see how this year is starting out. It's going to get worse. And Biden and them, they don't have no solution for this. He talked all that mess when he was going into office, talking about he was going to do this and do that. And I mean, does it look like anything he's doing is working out? In fact, he made it worse by kicking people off of jobs over the mandates. He's actually made it worse. No, I'm okay. I don't know why I sound sick to you. Hashtag true Hebrew, hashtag. I'm fine. I've been out and about. Sometimes when I go out and I'm out there for a while, which I did earlier this morning, and I'm out there for a while, it just takes my body a little longer to adjust when I come back in from the cold to the heat. And it's been very cold here. But no, I'm fine. I'm feeling great. Yeah. But I can see it in their faces that they know things are not the same. I mean, does America even feel like the same country it did in, let's say, 2014, 2015? No, it's not going to ever go back to being that way either. All we can do is take care of ourselves. But I'm just telling you, from here on out, just be careful following their lead. Just be careful because they don't know what to do. So, how are they going to tell you anything? They can't. You know, Change is good, y'all. Don't look at this as a bad thing. Change is good. Sometimes change is necessary so that you can move forward. You know, what am I drinking, Crystal? I got some naked juice. I got the mango. That's what I'm drinking right now. Hmm. So, y'all, just be careful out there. Take care of yourselves and your family like you never have before, and just look out. We just got to look out for one another and make sure, if you got family that needs help, help them the best that you can. And if you just can't, you just can't. I mean, I know financially everybody's not in a good situation, so you only can do whatever you want to do. Yeah, you don't slick shift. I heard Russia rejected slaves. They did. And they also quashed some of the colonialism these folks were practicing over in Africa. That's why many countries, if you notice, they don't like Russia because Russia has shut them down over things like that, where they were trying to colonize and dominate and mistreat the people. And they step in over in Africa and run the colonizers out of there. But at the end of the day, y'all, everybody's our enemy. I mean, let's be real. Even doing those acts in the Russians, everybody, they are our enemy on this planet. They are. Mhm. Yeah, you know what? If something does go down with Russia, you can tell Russia's completely prepared. They are. They're ready. And the US is just talking a bunch of crap and kicking up dirt. And Russia is not going to be like Iraq and Afghanistan. And in fact, you didn't even win Iraq and Afghanistan. So, anything with Russia would be on a much bigger scale. And you're not going to be able to do it if they already know what your moves are. And that's what they're telling you in the War Games article. They already know what the US will do before they even do it. Yeah, yeah. And you see all that mess going on with the voting rights, right? It has to be renewed every 25 years. I mean, this is just it's a garbage country. Seriously, let it go. Let it go. You know, we're not going to get what we have seen over the last 500. This is the best they'll ever be able to do in their life. And just looking at this place, do you now understand why the Most High said Gentiles will never rule this earth again? Do you get it now? This earth is destroyed. Not just the people are jacked up and destroyed, the land, the whole earth is destroyed. And they think they're going to mess it all up and somebody's going to come and rapture them away. I mean, if that's not the most laughable thing you ever heard in your life, if that's the case, when we went in our judgment, we get raptured away? No, he made us stay here and do and carry out our punishment. That's what he did. And they want to believe there is something special. He's not going to make you feel special. Look at your society that he's taking down. Do you feel special? And where in the scriptures does it say this group of people that aren't even his children, that he has really no connection with, are going to be raptured out of here? Who does this make sense to? We're his children. They're not his children, but he's going to grab up a bunch of people that are not his children and get them out of here. Come on now. Come on. But that's okay because they can believe whatever they choose to believe. But at the end of the day, it's not matching up with what we see out here, whether you believe in a Bible or not. It did for a while. And many of us saw, they would prevail in a lot of things. But as you can see, that's not happening anymore. Those blessings are already gone. So, look, y'all, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I'm so glad you all came and you hung in there and waited. And we'll be doing this soon. I'm going to see if I can set up the next live stream. If not sometime today, I'll definitely do it tomorrow. I just got to see when the best time comes because I want you to see the contradictions that are going on out here and the reason why so many people are confused. And, these folks believe if they keep us dumbed down and they keep us in the dark about a lot of things, it'll be easier to control us. But as you can see, their control over everything is just plummeting. hmm So, y'all, just look out for my next live stream. Like I said, I'm going to try to set it up today. If we can't do it today, we'll definitely do it on Friday. So, believe me, I appreciate all of you too, Desiree. Thank you so much. What's that? Right at the 400-year destruction started. Yes. You know, the tribe of Judah, it did start because remember, our Most High, he keeps his word. He keeps his word. It's not going to be anything they can do to make him reverse their judgment. And I remember I was watching, this was probably last year or the year that we were locked down. It might have been the year we were locked down. Big Judah had Paul Bagley in a video, and he was praying for the curses to go away. And look, once our Heavenly Father makes that decision, there is no reversing it, you know? So, everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of yourself because that's more important than anything right now. Shalom, family.